And away we go. So much to get to you here to set you up for the weekend. We got golf going on, of course, college football, the NFL, lots of big wins for Seal and SportsHandicapper.com last weekend. This isn't SportsEdge, powered by SportsHandicapper.com. And there he is, Sealy McNeely. How's that cheesesteak tasting?
Oh, it's good.
And the return of Starsky. He's back. We missed him. He's there. He's got playoff baseball in the background. We got Jam Sam. Jamie's here as well.
You got the Phillies. The Phillies are playing.
How are we feeling about the Phillies? I mean, that first game, the Guardians 2-1 over the Rays. I was wrong about that one.
Sealy, what do you think about the Phillies?
I think it'll be a good series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good series too.
I think you should have a cheesesteak every time the Phillies game is on.
Huh.
But let's start. We're gonna get to golf here in a minute, but of course the Westgate champ is here. And before we get into anything, Seal 5-0 again last week in the Westgate. That's 2 5-0 weeks.
Yeah, I know, but I'm only worried about this week. Last week.
You said that the last 3 weeks.
No, but Seal, what you're forgetting about is the 4-week contest. The winner won at 18-2. You came in second place at 17-3.
Yeah, one game off.
Yeah, you would have won. I mean, at 1 point more, you would have won or tied the 4-week contest in the Westgate.
That's very depressing.
Good start. Good start.
It's a hell of a start, and we're going to talk with Seal all about his selections and Starsky as well. But we'll get back with you, Seal, in a minute. You can munch on that cheesesteak. But let's get to Jamie here. ScratchCaddy.com. It's the last year, Jamie, of this wraparound schedule in the PGA. Of course, last week we had the Sanderson Farms. This week you fired on the Shriners, and you fired pretty darn well. They're out there right now as we record on a Friday. After round number one of your main selections, Tom Hogue, leading the tournament, not just in the top 5, leading the tournament, and the rest of the guys that you picked, we'll get to in a minute here as I throw up your worksheet from ScratchCaddy.com. They're all in the top 30. So everyone's got a chance here. That's the kind of week you like, Jamie. I know when you've got 4 or 5 selections that are all in the top 20 or 30 that have a chance at the weekend. But tell everyone about the process of taking Tom Hogue.
Yeah, so it's always a lot easier when you can look at last year's worksheet and you pick the winner. So we had Sung Jae Im last year, and I basically just followed exactly the same steps kind of this year. There's a lot of correlating form there with the desert courses that you also play in Arizona. You got the Amex there in California, the other Nevada tournaments as well. So there's a lot of stuff there that you can, I looked as to why we got Sung Jae Im last year, and that was one of the main reasons. The other thing as well with this tournament as well, you don't really see guys from the Florida, East Coast sort of side. I know Sung Jae Im is sort of based over in Atlanta and whatever, but you look at this tournament, it's all Texas, California, Nevada, Phoenix, Arizona, players from there who are used to the desert conditions, they're used to the dry air, and they're used to these greens as well. So yeah, Tom Hogue, I believe he was at university in Texas or something like that. So he's definitely played in these conditions before. 10th and 12th in his last 2 events for him. He's got some great correlating form, which I also liked. And you can get him at, 50, 55 to 1, I think he was.
Yep.
So yeah, he started great yesterday, didn't he? Had a couple of eagles there in his round. But it's the first quarter in a football game, isn't it? So I did see though this morning the morning wave. Only the leader's on 9 under right now, so he's only one shot behind. But it's the sort of kiss of death, isn't it? Like your overnight leaders at -8. The morning he's got to go out in the afternoon. The morning guys only shoot -9, and you think if our boy could just shoot 4 or 5 under, and then he'll go out and shoot 2 over. So, hey, listen, we'll see what happens, but he's definitely in a good spot right now. Seamus Power was another of the guys as well. Some real good correlating form. He's a Nevada guy. He's actually in Nevada. He's based out of. And, of course, we've got the Ryder Cup this year, don't we? So he's definitely going to be, Europe have got those core 6 or 7 players probably, but there's definitely a lot of spots there that are up for grabs, and somebody like Seamus Power could definitely work himself on the team.
All right, I think we might have gotten a little freeze action there on Jamie. We'll get back with Jamie in a minute. Sealy McNeely. Well, we let Jamie unfreeze. Maybe he had a cheesesteak and it froze him.
Oh.
Wait, now, where is the cheesesteak from?
Primo's.
Oh, hold on. Jamie's back. Jamie, did you have a cheesesteak? Is that what froze you?
I apologize. Yeah, I just had to go and grab a quick burrito over here. We're all good to go right now. But
all right, get back to what you were saying about Power and the Europeans.
yeah, so I think there's a few Ryder Cup spots that are up for grabs this year. So these guys, you saw Sepp Straka last week, who's a Bermuda grass green monster. I'd look at Straka to have a real good year next year, especially in these like the Arnold Palmer. He always seems to do well on the tough courses. I know the Sanderson last week was a low scoring thing, but he won the Honda last year. But you look at Straka. I think Straka may be in Hawaii for the Tournament of Champions. I think because he played in the Tour Championship, he gets an invite to there, and even the Players Championship as well. So you got to start looking at these guys, especially some of these European guys, who can win on the European on the PGA Tour. You got to find the spot for them, and I thought this was a decent spot for Power. Especially with the history of these guys who are based out in the desert that do win this event. He's definitely more than capable of doing it. And again, we're at sort of 50-1, 55-1 around with him. Andrew Putnam was one of the other guys. He was around 70-80-1, some tremendous correlating course form for him. There, look, you got 3 top 10s there for him on the correlating courses, and he's got some real good record here as well, doesn't he? Yeah. So, and the big long shot was Grayson C, who we put in at 100 and whatever it is to 1. He was just somebody. He didn't have any top finishes there really, but he's been real consistent there. What's that? Three top 20s and correlating courses. Came 9th last week. For a guy who's 125, 150-1, that's all you can ask for. You're not going to see any seconds or thirds or top 5s or anything like that. Because if you do, he isn't going to be 125-1. So, we took a shot on Grayson Sig. I saw after his round 2, he's at -5. So, hey, listen, anything can happen on the weekend, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, no, I was just going to mention that. I mean, this is a day where you said, listen, maybe Hogue goes out there and doesn't shoot well. I think he's got a very good chance too. But Grayson Sig on a day where no one's really going low, 2 under, 5 under for the tournament, 4 off the lead. And you mentioned 130+-1 for a guy like that. Putnam's hanging in there as well, and Seamus Power's hanging in there. So all these guys are within, reach. But of course, you feel, you never feel bad about a guy in first place after the first round. Also as well, just another side note, it's,
they're playing in Vegas. I mean,
I was just there. I literally left there 2 days ago.
If you're a resident of Vegas, it's like working in the chocolate factory. You've seen it all and you've done it all. You get some of these other guys who are going into Vegas and, maybe they should be in bed a little bit earlier. I mean, dude, look at the last 2 winners here. What was it? Sung Jae Im and was it Cantley? I mean, 2 of the most boring guys who you can see being in bed at 9, 10 o'clock. You ain't going to see them on the craps table at midnight.
I go to bed at 9 o'clock.
Well, it's because
they're not going to be David Spade like I did.
Because you started drinking it too.
It's not very nice.
So
it's not going to bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just little things there that. Hey, listen. Cantley and Sung Jae Im were the favourites for this. It would not surprise me to see those 2 in the final group on a Sunday. But you got to take a shot. You've got to take a shot. So
you're saying those 2 guys are not going to be like me and be hanging out with David Spade.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna be you with David Spade.
Dan, where was that picture from? I saw that on your feed.
That was I stayed at the Mirage. It was my really good friend's 60th birthday. We had a huge crew out there. And Spade was playing that night with Ray Romano. I actually went and saw the show. It was hilarious.
Was it recent or was it?
That was 4 days ago.
Last week, yeah.
It was last week? Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep. And I guess he was on Jimmy Kimmel last night, which I didn't know. until like late at night. But yeah, so that was David Spade. But then also, you know me, I'm a club guy, so I went and saw Loud Luxury. So I guess maybe Sunjay M probably won't be at the clubs at Omnia. I mean, look at these. Look at the way these clubs have gone. They're out of control. Look at the light show. It's like going to see Pink Floyd in the '80s. Out of control.
That's all in Vegas.
That's all in Vegas.
Let me ask you a question, Dan. How many Red Bulls did you pound that day?
You know, it's a good question. So during out the trip, probably 60, because I always just get the drink tickets and get free Red Bulls. But that night, I only got one, because guess how much they cost at the club for one Red Bull?
$25.
No, actually not that bad. $14. $14, and obviously got to tip them.
Yeah, but you're 25-5 in college football, Dan.
You know,
but it's
millionaire, dude.
$14.
Starsky, it's the principle. I can't. When I'm getting 50 Red Bulls for $0, I don't want to pay one Red Bull for $14.
So
it's 25-5. You should be comped on that.
Let me ask you a question.
Well, it was 25-5 of the year, not in one weekend.
Dan, let me ask you a question. Didn't you pick up a free ticket for the Ray Romano gig?
Yeah, of course. All my stuff's free.
Why don't you have it? So you went to watch Ray Romano and David Spade and one Red Bull. $14 is a pretty good deal, dude.
Well, yeah, of course. I got the job done, but it's the principle. It's like I just cannot believe. Like, obviously, if I drank, I wouldn't care, because you know you're going to one of these insane clubs and you're going to spend a lot of money. And these people that have booths, they spend $20,000, but Red Bull for $14 is just ridiculous. But a Coke is $10. A water is $8. So you just got to be prepared for it. But I was fine. I was dancing the whole time. So I was already on a bunch of Red Bulls. I didn't really need much more.
You don't want to know where I can get for $14 down here, dude.
Oh, I know you can get there. I got I was there till almost 4 a.m. The big club DJs these days don't know. Like, I've seen Marshmallow there and Tiesto and many top level DJs. They don't normally play for that long. These guys played for, I don't know if you ever heard of them, from Canada. They're called Loud Luxury. They're big time these days. They played for almost 2.5 hours. It's great. And everyone's going nuts. So always fun there. All right, JB, check out scratchcaddy.com. Always great stuff. I threw up the worksheet, and he just takes all the guessing out of it for you. And you've had a ton of success, Jamie. So great stuff there. We'll get back with you in a minute. Let's get to Sealy McNeely here. And there he is, the cheesesteak man himself. And here, we'll bring in Starsky too. He might have some questions for you. Let's start with college and go back to last week.
Dan, I want to start with last week's college. I want to see how to explain the Hurricane games that he bet the totals on.
Oh, we just got some value with the totals on.
I think you bet 5 totals. I think you won 4 of them, and the one game landed 51. I think you went over 51.5.
Yeah, right? 2-1, 2 drop touchdown passes.
But explain why you bet over in those games. Like, what exactly happened when the news came out about the hurricane?
Well, they just kept betting them down under a week before the weather got there, which is
right. And how much did they move? Like, how much were the games moving?
Yeah, they moved like 7-8 points towards the under, and there was no weather. I mean, that's what happens. You bet early on weather a week before the game. It's kind of all 5 days.
So sharp money was coming in on the under. It drove the line down.
I don't know.
You knew there wasn't going to be weather. You bet back over, and the games closed off your bet. What did they close? About how many points?
They all 3 of them moved to touchdown.
Yep. Yeah. And they actually all covered the actual spread too, which just shows you they moved 5, 6, 7 points. And Seal was on top of it in the first place. Even if a lot of times when a line obviously moves that way, we talked about this last week, Seal. When a line moves that big, you don't want to cheat the number, and a lot of times it lands in that spot, especially when you see a touchdown move. But they actually all went over the new total, which just shows you were so on top of things before anything even happened. I think that just goes to show that you know not only what you're doing, but people need to understand that there's a reason that you would fire on something like that, especially when you mentioned the weather was coming. It didn't happen. People were freaking out. That's the one time people love unders, is when there's like a snowstorm coming, or a hurricane or crazy rain or wind, and a lot of times it's the wrong play anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, to bet weather 5 days before the game or 6 days before the game starts. I mean,
and the Carolinas too, not like in Florida, the Carolinas.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway, because even if you bet the totals, there was a couple games in Florida. They moved one game 3 days later to Wednesday. And a lot of these sport books, if you bet under and they move the game to another day, you got your bet. Not like the old days when they cancel your bet. So you're going under a terrible number. It happened in 2 games in Florida. They switched the date.
Yep. Talk about where we're at this week. I know that there was a couple games you fired on. I know Akron's one of the plays, but I know that you're not in love with the card this week. But let's talk about
I don't
where
like
you're
college football. I only have one bet in college football so far this week.
What is it?
Akron Zips. The Zips.
The Zips.
The Zips. I don't think anybody's 11.5 points better than anybody than Mac this year. Do you?
No, you know Seal is the king of the MAC.
I mean, the Mac's so down this year. Every team's bottled up together. Ohio's got the worst defense in the country.
Don't sleep on my Eastern Michigan Eagles. They got Herm Edwards fired.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Buffalo at home in a game we talked about the next week, which was a perfect spot for them to lose.
But I mean, Ohio gave up 743 last week to Kent, and then went to overtime. It was just a bunch of fumbles. Ohio's defense.
What did you take on the game? It's game 359. What did you take?
Plus 11.5 on Akron. I think it will drop more.
What's it sitting now? It's pretty much
11.
It's
sitting 11 minus 110, but that's definitely going to drop.
It's going to drop. There's 10.5 in sharp places. It's going to come down.
All right. What else? I know you haven't made any plays yet, but this is what people love to see. What are you leaning on, and give your thought process on a couple of these games?
In the NFL?
No, let's start with college here, then we'll go to the NFL.
What game?
Whatever games you're possibly leaning on.
I don't have hardly anything. Other than Akron, I don't like anything.
Wow, that's very well. We've talked about this too.
What about totals? Any totals you're looking at, or any totals jumping out at you?
Nope,
nothing at all.
Well, I think it starts. I think this is important to discuss too, and it's something that we've discussed on the show in the past. Sometimes the best bet you make is not making a bet, and just because there's a huge card and there's primetime games and your team's playing or this and that, whatever, it doesn't mean you just. I mean, last week Seal had those 5 games, 4 of them won easy. Obviously, got screwed on one at the end. That's an incredible winning percentage, and you're going to profit that way. Let's say Seal didn't, like you just said, you don't like a lot of games this week. You don't just fire to fire. You have one game you really like. Maybe you'll add on some games as the week goes on. But that's such an important message, I believe. I mean, I'm here in Michigan. Seal, I know you're in Pennsylvania. There's the legal betting apps now. There's these same game parlays. There's people doing 15-leg parlays, 10-leg. You're not going to win. Sportsbooks, Starsky Sportsbooks love that kind of stuff. When you look at someone like Seal, who's on top of the numbers, who's giving you things that are going to move 3, 4, 5 points, and if obviously you're a client of his, you're going to get those right when he gives them out. That's how you profit. Not just that. Seal, we talked about this during baseball. When you're cheating the juice, let's say you gave a game at minus 115 and it goes to minus 138 or minus 125, whatever. Throughout the year, that is thousands upon thousands of dollars. And the same thing goes for betting football. Just because there's games out there to bet doesn't mean you bet them. You bet the ones that can win you money, right?
Absolutely. You can't press. No pressing. This is not a dry cleaner over here. We don't press.
Yeah, you don't press. Well, let's talk about NFL here. And I know you've said the last couple of weeks that you're not a fan of either card, yet you go 5-0 and 5-0. Let's talk about where we're at when it comes to the NFL this week, where your leads are. I know that you might not have made any of the selections yet, but where are we at when it comes to the NFL?
Well, I bet the Jaguars, but there's a lot of short money against me, which I'm kind of surprised. I laid 6.5 minus 20 on the Jags. Pretty big bet. And it's just sitting 7. I don't think it's going to go up. A lot of people seem to like Houston. I like Jacksonville a lot. I think they're touchdown better at home.
I agree. I think Houston's garbage. I mean, Davis Mills gives you something, but Houston they have no offense.
I mean, Jacksonville, if you look at their numbers, they're top 5 in the league. Houston, you can find them all the way at the bottom of the list.
Right. And I know you.
I don't know. Seems cheap to me. I know people don't like to lay points this year in the NFL because there's a lot of close games. But the Jacksonville and the teaser is the best teaser bet I've seen this year.
Yep.
So far.
All right, what else are you looking at?
I bet a bunch of teasers with the Jags. I bet some teasers with Tampa Bay and the Jags before Tampa Bay went up. I got it at 8.5. It's 10 now.
So that's one of the games I wanted to ask you about. It's one of the games I got marked down. Tell me about Tampa Bay. Tell me about the game. Why do you like it?
The Falcons without Pitts and Patterson, they're the 2 best players they have by far, not even close on offense. I mean, and it's a great spot for Tampa anyway if they get ran over by the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Tampa Bay's a great teaser bet, but now it's 10, so that ship sailed.
Right. I mean, last week I was reading. I know Tampa Bay and the Chiefs. It's a tough game. But I was reading last week how excited they were to play. That Tampa Bay was excited to have fans in the stadium and to be able to play after the hurricane and all this stuff. And they just came out. Brady had a good game, but they didn't obviously I mean, you got
they had a tough week.
Homes on the other side of the.
They were a tough team to bet because they had displaced down to South Florida and then they had to go back off.
Yeah.
They had a really tough week of preparation.
All right, what else are we looking at in the NFL?
Coming off a loss too. I mean, it was a bad spot, but I just read a lot of stuff. But this week you like the Bucks.
I like the Bucks, absolutely.
Okay, what about tell me about the Bears game. I want to talk about the Bears game. I know Green Bay's playing in London this week, but Minnesota and New Orleans, that was last week's game, correct?
That was last week.
Yep.
Right. Tell me about what you think about the Bears this week.
I don't think much about the Bears.
No?
They have the worst quarterback in the league, maybe.
Yep.
And they can't throw the ball. They can run the ball a little bit.
Normally in the past, though, when teams come back from London, don't they usually? Isn't that where they set up the bye week for the teams?
Yeah, usually these two teams are playing.
That's why I was asking you about the Bears. Like Minnesota's coming back from London, they're coming off that win, which crazy win. The ball, the New Orleans kicked the ball and it bounced around the uprights, and obviously they didn't tie the game. They lost the game, and now you got a situation where Minnesota's coming home, long flight, and they're going up against the Bears, and the Bears are a 7.5 point dog. Would you lean Bears or would you lean Vikings?
I wouldn't touch the Vikings off the trip, but I can't bet the Bears.
Can't bet the Bears. Okay.
Can't bet them. Can't bet the Bears.
All right, what else are we looking at?
The other London game. Let's talk about
Green Bay and the Giants.
well, that's this week's. Talk about New Orleans. New Orleans and the Seahawks. New Orleans is coming back too. Bad loss.
Yeah, I mean New Orleans.
For me, I look at New Orleans right now coming back from London, and as a 5.5 point favorite, the number looks high to me. What do you think?
Well, Seattle's playing a lot better than most people thought.
Geno Smith's playing pretty good.
They just scored 100 points against the Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, your Lions. Yeah, your Detroit.
Hey, my Lions are the most fascinating team in the NFL. They have the best offense and the worst defense.
That's what I read last night. I read something about the Lions, the first team in NFL history that has scored, I don't know how many points, 281 points, and they've given up just as many points.
It's the first time ever you've had a team that has this good of an offense and this bad of a defense through 4 weeks. Ever.
Crazy.
Yeah, the New Orleans game, it's a stay away for me. I can't believe Seattle's still playing this good. Their defense stinks, but they're putting up good numbers with Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, man, he's been a lot better.
77% completion. It's crazy. He's like leading the NFL. It's insane. The guy's on fire. So that's last week's two London games. Now you got the Packers going to London this week. What do you think?
First time ever, Green Bay and London.
Yeah, first time ever. I would bet
against a Giants team that has two quarterbacks that are hurt. Obviously, if who plays if those two? Neither one of those. I mean, what did they upgrade Jones today? They upgraded him to
Jones is starting.
He's starting, okay, but you gotta wonder. I mean, he's the second leading rusher on the team behind Barkley. If he can't run the ball and he becomes one-dimensional and he has to throw the ball the whole game, like what happens in that game? Like,
well, that's the problem. They don't have any receivers. The Giants, they're all hurt. I mean, if the Giants were healthy on offense, I'd be betting the Giants.
Yeah, I agree. I would have loved the Giants if they were healthy. And Kenny Galladay, by the way, former Lion, has been awful. And Tony's done nothing. But you can't take that with all the injuries.
Yeah, they have too many injuries at wide receiver. I can't touch them. Too many.
Are there other games I know you haven't made your official Westgate picks yet, but are there other games that you're leaning
Yeah, I
on?
like the Washington, believe it or not.
I know Washington's been really bad this year, but Tennessee's been bad on the road.
I took 3 on Washington. I like the Commanders this week.
And then what are we seeing with the Lions Patriots?
Why do you like the Commanders though? What do you see there?
I don't think Tennessee's good enough to be favored on 3 on the road. I don't think they're that good.
I don't think Carson Wentz is good enough to win a game like that.
Yeah, he's been playing bad. But I'm not in love with Tennessee. I'm anti-Tennessee.
What about this Lions Patriots game? Obviously, I hate the game as a Lions fan. I'm not touching it, but I don't think the Patriots are that good. Mac Jones obviously is out. The Lions, obviously, their defense is garbage, but the Patriots don't score a lot. But Detroit could score a ton, even with and Swift will be back. I mean, is there any value on the Lions at a key number of 3? Maybe it goes to 3.5 with some public money on New England. I don't like I said, I don't like the game, but I think there's some value with the Lions there. I really do.
Yeah, I might bet the Lions. They have so many injuries. I just want to find out who's playing. Yeah. I mean, they are a mash unit, but it's the Lions or nothing. I'd probably bet the Lions if they're a little healthier than they were last week.
And then one other game that I think is interesting too is this Philly-Arizona game. Philly -5 right now on the road in Arizona. Arizona looked really good in Carolina, but Arizona with Murray has been so inconsistent. Philadelphia, the only undefeated team in the NFL. I know Starsky and Sideburns very excited about their Eagles. I said they were definitely a Super Bowl contender.
I'm not excited. I'm actually using Arizona in the contest this week.
Really? What do you think about this game, Seal?
Philadelphia's got Dallas next week. They got the Cowboys next week, which is a big look-ahead game. Arizona's played much better in the last 2 weeks than they did in the first 2 games. I don't know. I think Arizona, a home dog like that, it looks like they're a bet on team to me. I mean, it's always hard. It's always hard narrowing everything down to 5 picks for the contest. So the circuit contest, the Westside contest. But Arizona is one of the teams I'm definitely going to use. What do you think about it, Seal?
I bet the Eagles -3 in the first half.
Did you?
I like the first half bet of the Eagles. I wouldn't bet them in the game.
Why did you bet it? Why did you bet it though? What did you say?
Well, they're the best first half team in the NFL, and Arizona is last. They just don't play well early. Arizona only does anything when they're behind, and Murray gets loose, starts running the ball.
Any other games? Any other possible leans you have in the NFL?
Yeah, that's all I'm looking at right now.
What do you think about the Raiders?
I did bet a total. I did bet under 45.5 in the Rams.
Why did you bet under there?
For those 2 teams, that total shouldn't have been any higher than 41.
It's a good number. You went under 45.5, you said?
Yeah, off the openers.
Yeah, it's 43.
What is it now? It's pretty much painted 43,
43.
Right? Yeah.
All right.
I bet.
What do you think, Still, real fast, a question for you. I have 2 more games I want to ask you about. What do you think about the Raiders?
Another tough game. Raiders played well last week against Denver. I don't know what that means. They don't have a coach.
Denver's god-awful.
Denver, that game was horrible last night, by the way. Horrible game.
Oh, that was bad. I have absolutely no opinion on that game. Raiders play them tough, though, sometimes in Kansas City. Played them tough lately.
Division matchup.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a big number to me. It just seemed too big. I mean, being able to take 7. I mean, it's pretty much painted 7. It looks like the 7 pretty much everywhere. You don't see. There's no 7.5s out there, is there?
No, it opens. That's one of the games that has not moved an inch this week. Is that game?
Okay.
7.
The other game, the last game I want to ask you about, the Jets.
Robert Saleh, Jets at home, getting 3, even money.
Yes, Jets.
Yeah, I like the Jets this year.
Go.
Shame their offensive line's so beat up. When it got into my head, even though I'm not a Teddy Bridgewater fan, I would lean to the Dolphins. But I'm not a giant fan of Teddy Bridgewater. Mm-hmm. Even though his numbers against the spread are pretty good. Lean to Miami would have gone to my head. But I won't be betting that game.
Wasn't Bridgewater at the Jets last year?
No, that was
no, he was on the Saints.
New Orleans. Bridgewater went Minnesota, New Orleans, and then now to the Jets, correct?
It was Minnesota, Jets, New Orleans.
Yep. Now, before we get out of Starsky, I wanted to ask you, we talk about Dolphins here, in this Tua situation. I think the NFL is going to they're already in trouble. I think that the way they handled it was horrible, but it seems like it's going to keep happening unless they put some things in place. Does that piss you off that you got guys out there that shouldn't be?
You know what? I saw the game before. I saw what happened. I saw when he fell backwards, when he got hit, he kind of fell, and you could see that he hit his neck in a weird way, and it was kind of disturbing when he got up and he started walking, and then he stumbled and he fell. He pretty much fell to the ground almost. I mean, that's got to tell you something. There's got to be something wrong. Like I know they're playing really well to start the season, and they need it. Like they've needed it for a long time. But to keep him in there after a hit like that, to let him play I don't understand the whole thing. Like I really don't get it. The NFL, I mean, they were right in suspending whoever the physician was. I think he was a team physician. But they suspended him or fined him or whatever they did with him. But it's a shame. It's when they push the players too far, I think it's the wrong thing to do, especially
he could have died.
Most important position on the field. I mean, the quarterback. I mean, you just don't do it.
Yeah, but My dad's a doctor. I talked to some friends that are doctors. I mean, for what happened the 5 days before, where they said it wasn't a concussion when it clearly probably was, he could have died. And
Well, he wanted to play though too. That's the other
right,
side.
but at what cost?
I mean, it was he came out in the news and he said, "I'm fine. I can play. There's nothing." Like the player's got to take responsibility for it too. Like the player thinks he's hurt and he shouldn't play. The player should open his mouth. He didn't say that. He said he wanted to play. He wanted to continue playing.
They're all going to say they want to play.
Yeah, you have to have something in place to stop the player from themselves sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Two things about that game. The game against Buffalo when he got hit. As soon as I saw him get hurt, I bet the second half because I had a big bet on Miami. I got off my bet second half and bet Buffalo because I said there's no way in the world he's coming back in the game.
Yeah.
He came back in the game, but they fired the independent doctor, the neurosurgeon.
Right.
Yeah. They fired him. There's no way she came back in that game. I couldn't believe it when he came back in the second half. I bet.
When I saw him fall to the ground, I mean, he didn't fall completely to the ground, but he took a few steps after he got hit, and then he fell to a knee. Like that's got to tell you something.
Well, they said it was a back injury. It's bullshit. It wasn't a back injury. It was a head injury. And now you won't see him, I guarantee, for like 3 weeks because they're afraid to death to play him.
Just unreal. All right, well, listen, great job by all of you guys before we get out into some parting shots. Go Phillies, by the way. Jamie, we'll start with you. Look, there's a $410 million jackpot.
Huh?
You just missed it on the screen behind you. There's a $410 million lottery jackpot. I guess.
Yeah, I just saw the Draymond Green punch. Great punch, dude. Great.
That was my guy Jordan Poole, by the way, from Michigan.
Yeah.
Clean.
Yeah, not good. Starsky, what do you got?
Rooting for the Phillies. I'm really excited. I'm happy they snuck into the playoffs at the end. It didn't look like it came down to the wire. I mean, it could have been them. It could have been Milwaukee. I'm glad they got in, and I think it's a great matchup, like Seal said, with the Cardinals. I hope they go far in the playoffs. It's going to be pretty exciting to watch. It's great having a team like I'm from Philadelphia. Seal's from Philadelphia. It's great having our team in the playoffs in baseball while NFL football is going on at the same time, and we have the best team in the NFL.
Yeah,
Even though I'm betting against them this week. So.
It's all right. It's all about money. All it takes is a little momentum in the baseball playoffs.
If they win by a field goal, I'm more than happy.
All it takes is a little momentum in the baseball playoffs, and Philly could be in the World Series. You never know. Seal, what do you got?
My 401k is the 201k.
Well, we'll get it back to 401. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. It's going to 101. It ain't going to 401.
Maybe 301. How about 301?
Yeah.
For me, it's my dad. My dad just turned 75 in the last couple weeks. We're taking him on a secret surprise Detroit River cruise. So very excited about that this weekend. Happy birthday to the doc. Love to all of you guys. Great job as always. Please check out Jamie's
and
site.
Also, remember, Seal missed, like we talked about, he's 17-3 in the NFL to start the first 4 weeks of the season. You don't go 17-3. It just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. The guy's a genius, and he's been incredible in college. Check out Jamie's site, scratchcaddy.com. Of course, Seal's site at sportshandicapper.com. Cybers will be on the show at some point. He's handicapper 911, myself, squatchpicks.com. But please check out. Seal's our guy. We all work for Seal. Sportshandicapper.com, the best site in the business. Thanks so much for watching us. Until next time, we'll see you next week. This has been the Sports Edge, powered by Sports Handicapper. Keep reaching for the stars, believe in the dream. For all the great peeps, we're out of here.